Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Constitution Study. My name is Paul Engel. We are here to read and to study the Constitution so we will recognize our freedoms, be able to defend and assert them, and to return the Constitution to we the people of the United States of America. I said this is a special edition. This is a bonus going out. I have just released an article on the website constitutionstudy.com that I really just had to get off my chest. I titled it, Do We Fiddle While America Burns? And as you can imagine, it is just that heart-wrenching. You know, I considered writing articles about the recent Supreme Court appointment. I was even asked by someone to write a list of constitutional questions the Senate should ask the candidate, but I decided to wait and see what happens. To be blunt, folks, I found recent foray into self-government to be so disturbing that it is beyond comprehension. It is beyond my ability to describe accurately. I mean, I would call the last few weeks in Washington a circus, but that would be a tremendous insult on P.T. Barnum. Nothing he ever came up with was as wild and crazy and just despicable as what has been going on in the last few weeks. You know, from the senators to the president, from the pundits to the media, I can only describe what I've seen over the last few weeks as the active destruction of our republic, the destruction of the rule of law, and the destruction of any consideration of rights and liberty. In short, the entire process of judicial appointment has become dismantled and been replaced with a freak show that would put Jerry Springer to shame. So let's start from the beginning. What is the role of the judicial branch of our government, of our republic? Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution says the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Okay, so our judicial system is the judicial power. What is this judicial power vested in the courts? Well, according to dictionary.com, judicial power is that power pertaining to courts of law, to judges, or the judiciary. Okay, so what is the role of a court? What is the role of a judge in a court? Even more. Well, I looked up judge in the Webster's 1828 dictionary, and it says to compare facts or ideas and to perceive their agreement or disagreement, and thus to distinguish truth from falsehood, to form an opinion, to bring to issue the reasoning or deliberations of the mind, to hear and to determine, and in cases on trial to pass sentence, to discern, to distinguish, to consider accurately for the purpose of forming an opinion or conclusion. Put that all together, and we find the role of the federal courts, including the Supreme Court, is to hear and compare the facts of cases, accurately discerning their meaning, and then using that to form an opinion based on those facts that meet up with truth. Notice there are several things that are not included in this judicial power. The power to interpret, approve, or create laws is not included. The power to unilaterally overrule the will of the people as expressed by their representatives, or the power to establish public policy. None of those are included in the judicial power that is vested in our courts. Yet listening to the questions asked of the nominee, almost all appear to be related to how he would exercise the above power not granted to the court. This general lack of understanding and willful ignorance and complete corruption of the judicial branch appears to be at the root of the turmoil that was displayed, especially last week in Washington. Mr. Kavanaugh repeatedly stated that he was bound to court precedent, which seemed to be extremely important to politicians and media personalities alike. However, Mr. Kavanaugh, upon taking your position on the Supreme Court, you swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, not precedent. And in fact, when you took your seat on federal court, you swore that same oath to the Constitution, not precedent. It's just another example of how our general ignorance of the supreme law of the land has led to the corruption of our government. So why would precedent be so important to the aforementioned politicians and media personalities? Because much of public policy today and quote-unquote law that these people have promoted has come not through the legislative process, but it's illegally through the judicial branch. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says all legislative power herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, not in a Supreme Court, not in any other court. It appears that many who have gotten their way through this corruption of the judicial system are not only loath to lose that power, but they will do anything to keep it, even destroying an innocent man's reputation. Not only his reputation, but his family and his future. This destruction of the rule of law was compounded by those in Congress, the media, and the punditry who demanded that this man be disqualified from serving based on an unverified, uncorroborated, and often contradictory testimony of just one witness. The repeated attempts to subvert our most basic tenets of due process, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, the right to confront your accuser, and the concept of a fair and impartial review of the facts shows that many in our federal government are little more than petty tyrants wielding their power to destroy not only anyone who opposes them, but their friends and family as well. Should any one of the myriad of accusers, the politicians, the media, to the protesters and rioters, should any of them have been treated the way they treated Mr. Kavanaugh, they would have been up in arms and flooded the courts with defamation, slander, and libel suits. Had their families been treated the way they treated Mr. Kavanaugh's, their protests would have been earth-shattering, and rightfully so, for the treatment of Mr. Kavanaugh and his family was not fit for a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, much less supposedly rational adults charged with the running of our government. Most dangerous of all, it seems to me that most American people are willing, even motivated, to stand around fiddling while our republic burns. Where are the calls for senators to abide by their oath of office, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, or be removed from office? Where are the reports of media outlets losing readers and viewers for their libelous and slanderous reporting? Where are the Americans standing up to those who use intimidation and harassment under the false pretense of protest? Instead, while our nation burns, there are those throwing gasoline on the fire. Where are the Americans to douse the flame? Have we all lost our stomach to stand up to tyranny? Have we all traded our liberties for some false promise of safety? If America was formed to protect our rights, then I ask you, are there any true Americans left yet? If so, where are you? Because it is your representatives and your senators, the senators you elected to represent you, that have displayed such hostility to our most cherished rights. Is that an accurate representation of you? Is that how you wish to be seen by the world? If not, what are you doing about it? Will you stand up for the rule of law over tyranny of the loud? Will you protect not only your rights, but the rights of your children and their children? Or will you continue to cower in fear and fiddle while America burns? Yes, as you can tell, I'm passionate about this. This has really gotten under my skin, and I'm going to think about it when it comes election day next month, and I hope you think about it as well. Think about the people on TV, the people we watch in the Senate who have treated this man with despicable venom, and ask yourself, is that your representative? Is that who you want to be seen as? And if not, throw the bums out. This is America of we the people, not we the senators or we the powerful. And until we decide we've had enough and stand up to these tyrants and despots in Washington who think they can do whatever they want regardless of the rule of law, regardless of what the people want, until we stand up to them, they'll keep doing it. So it's time to stand up and say enough is enough. If you're going to act like a 2-year-old child, we're going to send you home to be put back in diapers. I hope this got your dander up. I hope it got you riled up. I hope you see the mess that Washington is in and the fact that it's our fault. I hope you'll do something about it. Go out and vote, not just vote for anybody, but vote for the people that will uphold our Constitution. And if they won't do that, we're going to throw the bums out. I hope you found this exhilarating. And most of all, I hope to see you again the next time on the Constitution Study. Good day.